will be Albert Bandura. So we will now focus on the concept of this Canadian-American psychologist, and he was also a Stanford University psychologist, and his concept was about the self as proactive and agentic. So from the words or from the keywords proactive and agentic, we already know what his theory is all about. So according to him, humans are producers of their life circumstance, not just products of them. Okay, so why? Because he said that humans are capable of behavioral modification and that we are not byproduct of the events from our environment. So we have free will, just like what Carl Rogers believed, according to Bandura. So according to him, we can react, we can make changes in our actions, and we can make things happen. And that is why he proposed the social cognitive theory. Aside from that, he said that the self is both proactive and agentic. So is social cognitive theory. This is a theory that views people as agents or originators of experience and not just reactive individuals. This also suggests that humans have the ability to act and make things happen. Okay, so and to support his claim, he proposed the 4 agentic perspectives, and these are: first, intentionally, which enables us to behave with purpose. So kumbaga, every behavior that we have has a reason or has a purpose. Next is forethought, allows us to anticipate outcomes. This is allows us to anticipate outcomes. So for instance, the act of carrying an umbrella, even though if it's not raining, is a product of forethought. In other words, you are anticipating that there will be rain because based on your experience, pag madalungdong, mauran. Okay? So next is self-reactiveness. We can be motivated to regulate our actions. So, kumbaga, we react, but we are not just passive individuals. Kumbaga, we are agents. So we are reacting and we get motivated because we are controlling our own selves. And finally, self-reflectiveness as the 4th agentic perspective according to Bandura, wherein, according to him, in this perspective, we can reflect our thoughts and behaviors and make needed modifications. So for instance, if your behavior did not have a good result, then you, as an individual, according to Bandura, can make modifications for your behavior or actions. Okay, so aside from the agentic perspectives, Bandura also gave focus on social learning. So he emphasized the importance of social learning or learning through observation. And in psychology, we call this vicarious learning. Okay, so his theory emphasized the role of conscious thoughts, including self-efficacy or our own beliefs in our abilities. So see, this is how Bandura trusts human beings, that human beings really have this ability, and they are just he is just the same with Carl Rogers. So here are 4 steps in observational learning according to Bandura. So he has attention, retention, motor reproduction, and finally motivation. So in order to learn, you need to pay attention, of course. So anything that distracts your attention is going to have a negative effect on observational learning. That is why you have to take focus. So if the model is interesting or there is a novel aspect of the situation, you are more likely to dedicate your full attention to learning. Diba? If something is interesting, you do not lose focus on that thing. Okay, next step is retention. So the ability to store information is also an important part of the learning process, and that is retention. It can be affected by factors, but the ability to pull up information later and act on it is vital to observational learning. Kasi even if you attend to something or you focus on something, if you do not have retention, then there is disruption in the process or in the steps. The third is motor reproduction. So once you have paid attention to the model and retained the information, it is now time to actually perform the behavior you observe. Because in his theory, if you only focus and remember and there is no action, then nothing will happen. So further practice of the learned behavior leads to improvement and skill advancement. Practice makes perfect. And finally, The fourth step in observational learning is motivation. So in order for observational learning to be successful, you have to be motivated to imitate the behavior that has been modeled. So reinforcement and punishment play an important role in motivation. So ano't reinforcement and ano is punishment? So reinforcement makes repeating a positive behavior while punishment is doing otherwise. Kumbaga, these are given these two, reinforcement and punishment, are two important roles in motivation. So while experiencing these motivations can be highly effective, so can observing others' experiences some type of reinforcement or punishment. So in reinforcement there are two types, or in motivation there are two types. Intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. So when we say intrinsic, it is a motivation that comes from within, from yourself talaga. When you say extrinsic naman, so it talks about rewards from the outside. So for example, you are doing your learning tasks or assessments because intrinsically you want to learn. Meaning, an imo motivation is you want to learn, you want to gain knowledge. And that is intrinsic because it's coming from within. Regardless if an imo grade hataas or diri, you don't care about that because you are too concerned about the knowledge that you will gain. However, if you are just driven by extrinsic motivation or reinforcement, so for example, you are doing your learning tasks and assessments because you want to get high grades. If for example, nag-fail ka or waray ka meet ang imo gina-expect na grade despite ang imo himuhan imo learning tasks and assessments, kung natanan na ginhimo muna and di lagat maupay, then ang imo behavior towards doing the same act will lessen. Okay? Kaya kumbaga dependent ang imo motivation at kung ano nga reward from outside ang imo himuon. So for the with the words of Bandura, he said that self-belief does not necessarily ensure success, but self-disbelief assuredly spawns failure. So that is why positive self-talk is very, very important. Sa ring panganinira, if you tell a fish that fish cannot swim, then that fish will never swim. Okay, so this is the last part of our discussion about Bandura, and before we move on to the last topic, which is the self as the central archetype by Carl Jung, so the activity is called the you through others' eyes. So in this part, you have to list down, wait lang, it should be 10 words in dapat. List down 10 qualities or things that you think define who you are. So we will check how you are being perceived by other people in this part of the activity. Yes, about the things that you have to list down are your friends, whether your friends, your family, your classmates, and other people. So the activity has two parts. In this part, this is how others perceive us, and the second part is how we perceive our own selves. Here. So ask your friends or family to describe you. Please tell them not to use any bad words, and this is the format. I am blank. So who do you think I am based on what you see me do or hear me say? Okay? So